Doesn't matter who you are or where you are in life. Every single one of us is building a life with no guarantees. We make choices not knowing where they'll lead. And still we dream, we go after those dreams, and we work tirelessly to bring them into fruition. Hello and welcome to Spiritually Hungry from sunny California.
We're back in Los Angeles for this episode.
We're back. I brought my friend.
No, well, only people who are.
Well, I'm going to explain what my friend is. It's Mr. Kermit sitting here on the table. So you would think maybe this episode is about joy and laughter and things that make me feel warm and fuzzy, but no.
So I know it's Snoopy and Kermit. Is anybody else?
I like Woodstock.
Woodstock more than Snoopy?
No, they're friends.
I know they're friends.
So they go together. And I like Tweety Bird.
Really?
And Sylvester.
So it's okay, Sylvester. So and Kermit.
Correct.
Okay, in that order?
No, I feel like I need to go back and watch those things because
I've ever watched them.
I remember how I felt when I was a kid. And then I wonder my adult self would be like, oh, you're just nasty. Or your behavior is like, no, Sylvester I don't think was a nice cat. Tweety was cute. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, when you watch something when you're younger and you go back and revisit it and you're like, oh my God, like that's not at all what I thought.
Not really. I don't think I've ever had that experience.
You're so weird.
Why, have you had this experience?
I was just talking to Miriam about it, and we're talking about Sex in the City, and like her friend was saying one of her friends is like Carrie Bradshaw's character, and I was like, oh, I don't think so at all. And then we started talking about what Carrie Bradshaw's character was like, and Miriam's like, you know, she was judgy and she was a little bit selfish and she wasn't a good friend. And I was like, really? I don't, that's not how I watched this. That wasn't my experience of it. Now I wonder if I would go back now, I'd probably see some of those things for instance.
Interesting.
But that's not what we're talking about today either. Today we are going to.
I think it's good to have things that like Snoopy really makes you happy. We were at the airport and you saw Snoopy.
Make me be like a weirdo now.
Not weird. I think it's really
cute
and endearing.
It is. Yeah, Snoopy's my favorite because he liked to sleep on the house. I also had a little Snoopy doll when I was a kid, and I think it was like a stuffed animal that comforted me. So I think there's some kind of connection there. Are we therapizing me now, or what are we doing?
No.
Okay,
this has nothing to do with today's episode
at all. Not even
but hopefully
close.
Our listeners enjoyed it.
Okay, what we are going to talk about though is something that I liked.
It's kind of the opposite of everything we spoke about.
Completely. We talked about warm and fuzzy feelings and thoughts and opinions. This is an emotion that definitely brings about a lot of feelings. And it's something that I really like talking about and unpacking. But hopefully we're going to take a different angle today. And that is, let's tease it, something we all experience. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are in life. Every single one of us is building a life with no guarantees. We fall in love not knowing how it will unfold. We raise children not knowing who they will become. That's probably the scariest one of all. We make choices not knowing where they'll lead. And still we dream, we go after those dreams, and we work tirelessly to bring them into fruition. And then we try to protect them, usually by trying to predict what might happen. So we project ourselves into the future, imagining all the outcomes, all the possibilities, and we try to get ahead of the thing that's going to happen next. And most of the things that we spend a lot of time thinking about or worrying about or fearing, if you haven't figured it out, those things actually never happen. It's the ones that you actually never consider that really get you. And underneath all of our effort is that root cause of fear. Fear of what we can't see, of what we can't control, of what might go wrong. But ultimately, the biggest fear, and what all of the other fears fall under, is fear of the unknown. Why I like talking about this is because nothing good comes of fear. It is an emotion that we need to pay attention to because it gets our attention. And so we stop and we think, okay, well, what's really going on here? And it's to lead us, which I know you're going to go straight into like the spiritual thing. We will get there. It leads us into something that's very, very necessary. And perhaps, in fact, is the most important reason we exist. It's to get us to that place. But for most people, they let it shrink them and make them either hide or they push back and they fight back and they lash out. It's those two extremes.
Or they live in fear.
Yes, either shrinking, hiding.
No, but I think there is I think a lot of people maybe it affects them in a certain way, but they go through life. They do go through life, but surrounded by fear. And I guess what we're saying is that hopefully today we're able to share some wisdom.
And here's a serious thing. You either are working on becoming that best version of yourself, and for you to do that, fear can't be involved, or you become whatever fear makes you. And that's the scariest thought of all, right? If we're talking about fear.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I have a counter, not an argument, but
let's argue.
The other, no, I don't think you're going to argue with me, but the other side.
You don't think I'm going to argue with you, or you don't think I'm going to win the argument?
No, I'm sure if you argue with me, you'd win the argument.
Thank you.
I just don't think you're going to disagree with what I'm going to say.
Okay.
In Kabbalah and spirituality, we always try to understand, why do things exist, right? One of the foundational teachings of Kabbalah is that nothing exists without a purpose. There's many stories, for instance, in the Zohar even, where one of the sages was walking through the fields and he went through one of the irrigation holes and he got all dirty and his clothes and got angry. Mm-hmm. And he's like, why does this thing have to be here? And his teacher reprimanded it. It's a longer story than this, and basically said, everything that exists must exist. And there's always that question, why does something exist rather than nothing? That's sort of a general question. But a more specific question is, why does this thing exist? Why does this emotion exist? And Kabbalistically, we know that everything has a reason. And in order to overcome anything, even that presents itself as negative, you have to go to the source, meaning, why does it exist? Every emotion has a purpose.
Well, I think what's interesting, though, you're saying every emotion has a purpose, but specifically every negative emotion has a purpose. And that's what I find to be.
And every positive emotion as well.
Yes, we understand the positive ones because we enjoy them more.
If I can, again, something Rabbi Ashlag writes, we think, for instance, that love exists. Why, if you ask somebody, why does the emotion of love exist? Oh, so I can love my wife, so I can love my kids. Actually not. The real purpose of love is to love everybody, or even deeper than that, what we call love the creator, which is a whole other conversation.
Well, that's where,
yeah. And that's the actual reason the emotion of love was created. Now, it happens to be that it also manifests in smaller ways as well. So I think it's really important to go to original source. Why was this emotion created? And then, by the way, all the other manifestations of that emotion will also be learned or understood based on the original purpose.
So it's the opening. So if you this is what's the irony of it is that we think, I'm going to find the love of my life and it's going to be like, that's my whole purpose. It's going to make me happy and fulfilled, when really it's only a doorway, actually. But most people are playing their lives so small. And
more than that, I think this is an important point, which is that if you make the mistake of thinking that the reason love exists for you as an emotion is just to find the one, and or just for your kids or those who are close to you, you're actually not going to be able to properly and completely connect to that channel of love. So your love for your wife and or your children will be less than it should be, because you're not really understanding and connecting to the totality of the purpose of love.
But so most everybody's unaware of that.
Right. Well, exactly. So going to fear. So there's an interesting statement in the Talmud. It says that the only reason why thunder exists, right? Because we know why lightning, is the actual force that is awakened through the clouds and all whatever the scientific reason is why lightning is created. But the thunder, there's sound, right? So the sound, what we call thunder, of the lightning has a purpose as well. Why does thunder exist? The Talmud asks, and it gives the answer. And it's a very interesting ancient Aramaic phrase, to straighten the crooked hearts. Mm-hmm. The crookedness of the heart.
Let's unpack that.
Yes. What it's saying is, right, you get a fright. What happens when you get a fright? Often you start thinking about, what's important, right? People who've been in an accident, heaven forbid, right after that, they start reassessing life.
Oh, everything, yeah.
Why am I investing time and effort here? Why am I, and so on and so forth.
I feel like that when Miles, our dog, barks and he's like scared, and all of a sudden I'm like really shaking, and it because it's so alarming, it makes you take pause.
And it could be thunder, it could be turbulence, it could be a dog, and so the root purpose of fear is to clarify those things which we have lost clarity on, to help straighten our view on life. As an aside, I was listening to this conversation where, the question was asked, would a person give up a year of their life for $1 billion? Mm-hmm. And the answer is no, right? But so many people, so I mean, if you just realize that, so if you on the scale of importance, more importantly, on the scale of what should give you pleasure, on the scale of what should make you happy. You have a year of your life. We all have that right now, thankfully. And you have $1 billion. What would make you happier? The reality is that if you just got a phone call, oh my God, you just got $1 billion in your bank account, you'll probably be so ecstatic. Whereas if you just got the reminder, you have a year of your life, not so excited, even though the mind knows and the heart knows that a year of my life is definitely worth me, not for anybody else, for me, worth more than $1 billion. Our heart is crooked. That's what it means. Meaning it gives value to the wrong things. It focuses on the wrong things. So fear, just to go back to the point, the purpose of fear, the reason why fear exists, has a purpose. It's maybe the most important thing. It's because we get lost in this world of illusions, and our heart becomes crooked. Our focus becomes wrong. And fear is there for only really one purpose: to wake us up.
It's interesting
to straighten our view of life.
The heart being crooked, does it say because the heart is what leads? Most people think that leads what you follow, your desire.
Sure.
So
and the heart really represents all of our emotions, which lead us to where do we focus on? What do we get upset about? What are we happy about? I mean, again, and this is the strange thing is that most people know the true answers to the important questions. We just don't live according to that truth.
Yeah, I mean, you said a year versus $1 billion. I mean, we lose, if you add up how much time we waste in a day and you add up all those days and you look at a whole year, how much of the year was actually lost?
Also true.
A big portion of it, I'd say. Also true.
But I didn't mean to take you off where you wanted to go.
Sweetie, but I expect it.
Okay, that's good. But what I think is really important for our listeners to know is that fear of the unknown has a purpose. There's a reason why we're afraid of thunder and lightning. There's a reason why.
Well, that's the spiritual reason. I mean, there is a physiological reason. There are many reasons, right?
Well, I would
know
say
you just only want to focus.
No, not only, but that the spiritual one is the root cause.
Is the main.
And the point is, in order to alleviate fear in whatever form that it takes, if you fix what needs to be fixed because of the fear itself will go away, or at least become diminished.
True. Which is why so many people have the same common fears: fear of death, fear of failure. Ultimately, it's a lack of trust that the universe is going to unfold as it should for you, that you're going to achieve what you're meant to, that you're connected to the Creator. I mean, if you had complete certainty, we talk about this, nothing at all would ever fear you, because there's nothing to fear then.
Right. And it's related to, and again, I digress a little bit, but I'm just so excited about this teaching. So
good. I want you to unpack it away.
No. This is a different idea, that one of the reasons when fears come up, even illogical fears, is because we have a desired outcome. This past Shabbat, this past Saturday, I was giving a lecture, and I use this example. I get up to give a lecture, right? And I'm sure many of our listeners have opportunities where they're talking, where they're lecturing even, and there's a desired outcome. So a person like I can make the mistake of thinking that the reason, what's my desired outcome from speaking, from lecturing, is to inspire people, right? And the reality is that that's not true. That's not what I think about. It's certainly not what I want to think about. What I want to think about is that I believe that my soul has a purpose, or in other words, the Creator has a purpose for this moment. And all I want is for that purpose to become real, to become manifest. What the effects of it, meaning are people going to be inspired or not going to be inspired? Are people going to like it or not like it? I couldn't care less. And I think, and I appreciate it's very difficult to live life this way, right? Because we all have desired outcomes from every situation. Again, you go on a date, you know what you want, or at least you think you know what you want the desire to be. You get married, you think you know what you want the desired outcome to be. You go into a business meeting. And if you're able to relinquish that attachment to the effect and just focus on, no, I believe the Creator has a purpose for me in this moment, or I believe my soul has a purpose in this moment, and that's all I care about, it starts pushing away all the other fears. Am I going to do a good job? Are people going to like me? And so on and so forth.
Then you enjoy the process and you really understand it to be the ultimate purpose. I think that the thing that really helped me get to the other side of that, and I'm always looking for next level on that, because I very much was the person that cared. The feedback I was given early on as a young child is really care what people think. It matters, right? If they like you, you're going to survive. I mean, a lot of it is also just how we survived, right? When I started to come to this truth that some people will like what I have to say and some will hate it, and I can bet on both things happening, right? Then you understand like this is such a silly thing to even desire or to make a goal, because you're never, and you're not meant to. Forget about understanding the spiritual part of it. Yes, well, I agree with you. Yeah. No, but I agree with you 100%, and we live like that, and that is the ultimate. But I'm saying for our listeners to get there, just be honest with yourself. People will speak badly about you. They'll also speak positively, but it doesn't matter at the end, because you're never that thing of like everybody's going to like what you have to say, or that's what's going to make you feel powerful. It's like a dead end. You're never going to arrive there. It's impossible, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. All I would say is I think, again, just the step before that, I just think it's so important, and not just important. I appreciate it's difficult to live like this. It's difficult. We're both of us, and I'm sure all of our listeners are hopefully practicing this way. But I strongly recommend to our listeners to make this a constant practice in life. When you're going into something that you think is important, or you're doing it, really anything that you're focused on the consequence, the effect that you desire to create, stop for a second and say, and even if it's not true, start by repeating this to yourself. I only desire what the light of the Creator desires from this moment. I only desire for my soul to do what it is meant to do in this moment. And what the effect or consequence of that, I detach myself from, or even I surrender to. And I think only through practice, meaning 10 times a day, 100 times a week, or however many times you have the ability to practice this, can it really then become a reality for you.
We're saying this, what I agree with you. I don't know which one comes first. I think that even if that is a person's desire, they still get back into that fight of, and so what I'm saying is then the other part of that, right? 100%, that is the consciousness, and that is the way to live, and that's the way to go forward. The other part is to realize it would be a waste of your utter time and a distraction to be busy, even if you get to that place of, I only want to do what the Creator wants me to do. And then after you do that and you've delivered it, and and when you were up there, yeah, I was doing exactly what the Creator wanted me to do. And then you sit down and you're like, did people like what I had to say, right? I'm saying that there's always another, and it's very freeing when you get to that place of really, really not caring from a true place, not the kind of like, I don't care, but like really, because you understand that you're living your purpose and that's all that matters, then you really feel free to enjoy, but also you're really powerful because you're tapping into your essence.
I'll just underscore, I don't disagree with you. I just think that it's, because I do think that it is different, not just a little bit from the way most people think. I think some people might make the logical argument that you're making, regardless, people are going to like me or not like me. So, why invest energy there? I think that just this consciousness is just so powerful. So has so much power in it that I really want to inspire our listeners to start, just that repetition of that mantra. I only want what the light of the Creator wants in this moment. I just think it's just so powerful and really transformational.
So that's the ultimate. I think another thing that can help people is if they are selective about what they allow in their ears and to penetrate them. Because so often, especially today, I have so many, every time I do a Q&A or after a talk or something, the biggest thing is, how do we get rid of the fears? I'm full of anxiety. I watch the news. I saw Instagram, social media, whatever. And I'm just like, well, first of all, stop watching all of this. I mean, you don't realize how, again, unless you have a high consciousness, we are affected by everything, even people's negativities. Or they, I know somebody, a relative, who always loves to talk about, who has cancer or who's sick, and you hear these things, and it's like, well, I was happy 5 minutes ago, right? And now I'm
it's
full
very
of
strange.
trepidation.
I see people, but it's a very strange quality.
I think it's an energy. I think sometimes people do that because if they talk about it, they feel like
there must be some scientific studies on this. But what were you going to say?
You have a theory?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward theory. But I want to hear yours.
No,
first.
what's yours?
Mine is that people who are not really satisfied in their life, right? Misery loves company. And so there's that well, their life is a lot worse than they got cancer. That's a lot worse than me having this issue or this problem. I don't, but I honestly don't know. And I'm sure, by the way, we can do a quick search on this.
I mean, I see your point. I don't think that that's a conscious thought if that's what's happening. I think added to that, sometimes people feel like they are removing themselves from that horrible thing. Yes, it's the same thing. Like, oh, I'm going to talk about this thing. You know, I'm healthy. I don't have that thing going on, right? It makes them feel better, like you're saying, about their situation, but not in a way of like, I just don't think they're aware that they're doing that.
My only point is, I don't believe that fulfilled people will enjoy talking about people being sick, right? I think that's the point. I think there's a clear delineation between how unhappy a person might be with their life and the degree to which they're happy to talk about other people's misfortune.
I think they're happy about it. I just think they feel like, oh wow, thank God it's not me. And that helps them remind themselves
that would make them happy to talk about.
I didn't say happy. You added the happy part.
Or even desiring to say, oh my God, this guy is going through this terrible thing.
It's an energy. But what I was saying is that I remember years ago, it was the holidays and I was in the kitchen baking, I think, and I don't have the news playing like this ever anymore. I don't watch the news. I mean, I always, if I need to hear something, I hear it. And of course I'll check things, but scroll it so I can go through it quickly, because I was in the kitchen and I think I was baking up a storm and I was in a really cheery mood. And then all of a sudden, like, started to feel more and more like a little down and a little bit like worried and anxious. I'm like, what is going on? And then I started to pay more attention to what I was listening to. And it was things like, oh my God, you better get your turkeys now. First off, I was going to order turkey from whatever they were saying, but like, we're running out, or like, you better go do this, times of essence, or it was all alarmism of like, everything is immediate, urgent. You're going to miss out on something. And then things were like, then the commercials, forget about it. This one, stroke, disease, this, that, whatever. And at the end, I started laughing. So I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous to turn the news off. But I just think that we should be more selective about what we allow to influence us. I think that the reason that we're able to hold the consciousness more is perhaps because we keep hearing that. We keep studying about this. We keep learning about it and reinforcing this idea. So I think that's the other thing. Yes, you said have a mantra every day and repetition 100%. I think it's harder to do when you have negative stuff in your ear too.
For sure. You're just making it harder for yourself. I think another tool, which I think is really important, because for me, it begins...
How did you say the word?
Tool?
Tool. Did you know you say it like that?
I don't say it like that. I just said it like that now. Tool.
I was like, I think I would know that. It's the first time I heard that.
Tool. There you go.
I'm sure people say it like that somewhere.
People say it
where we don't live, but yeah.
Is right. Trying to understand what is the purpose of the fear, knowing that the fear of the unknown is actually logical, because, like you said, we don't know. We don't know, how this year is going to go. We don't know how this marriage is going to go. We don't know, and so on and so forth.
But we're not meant to know.
Well, more important than that, I think that one of the purposes of having so much that we don't know. I mean, the reality is, and this is, I think, important to understand, we don't know a lot more than we do know. Right? So to try to think that, the reason I have a fear of the unknown is because I just don't know this enough, or I have not, the unknown is by orders of magnitude greater than anything that you know or ever will know. So why is the system set up in such a way where the unknown is much, much greater than the known? Because we're meant to surrender to what I would say the light of the Creator. I know this is a deep concept, but I think it's really important.
Well, let's unpack that, because I know what you mean. But so what? Surrender to the light of the Creator. I think
Right. So the opposite, the other side of the coin is certainty, right? What does certainty mean? Or like we often refer to as certainty beyond logic, that I don't know, right? But I don't know what's going to happen from point A to point B. I'm going into this business deal. I'm going into this meeting. I think I know what I want, but I know that I don't know. And I know that there's a light of the Creator surrounding me. And I know that the light of the Creator only wants what is best for me. And therefore I awaken certainty that what the light of the Creator knows is best for me ultimately is what is going to happen. And that is the only thing I can actually know. Because, like that famous story, that Zen story about, maybe, right? So going into a business meeting thinking I want this to go one way or the other is actually silly. You don't know. Of course, you can have your preference right now. There's no problem with going with a certain preference. But ultimately, what's the bigger vision for my life is that in this moment, I really don't know what's best for me. I do have certainty that the light of the Creator is involved in my life, and therefore I do have certainty that ultimately it will be for my benefit. And I surrender to that certainty. Certainty beyond logic means that I can't make logical sense necessarily of all the things that are happening, but I have the overriding certainty that the light of the Creator is involved, and therefore it's for my benefit. So that's what I call surrender. Certainty is really another way of saying surrender. It's surrendering to the knowledge that the light of the Creator is involved, and therefore ultimately for my benefit. And you will find, and again, this is a lifetime battle. This is not something that you master. It's hopefully something you get better at. And the reason why illogical fears exist, from the smallest to the greatest, is to get us to a place of certainty. Because you realize that life is filled with too many things that I don't know, and too many things that I will never know, no matter how much wisdom and understanding I get. And therefore I surrender to certainty. I surrender to the knowledge, the light of the Creator surrounding me. And I surrender to the fact that I know that that light will lead my soul to its ultimate benefit, even if this thing doesn't happen as I thought I wanted it to happen, or that thing doesn't happen as I thought I wanted it to happen.
I think that people often confuse the word certainty with the way we use it. I think it's often like it's a knowing, like I know for sure, which is usually connected to a need for control. I've put a lot of hours, effort, years, whatever it is, investment, whether it's a child, a relationship, a business, because I wanted this outcome and I'm not willing to see any other outcome, right? So the unknown is not even, I don't want to know anything other than what I know and what I want, right? So that's one thing. And then the word surrender has a really bad rap because it sounds very weak. And I spoke about this last week on Shabbat too. People are like, oh, I give up, I surrender.
Oh, no,
and
those two things
are opposite, actually. Yes. To surrender is to give in. It's to lean into something greater than you, which is the light of the Creator.
And I would just add, leaning to goodness. Right,
100%.
That's the point. Surrender isn't surrender to, oh my God, this terrible thing is going to happen.
Surrendering is
into a greater good.
Exactly.
For me.
And I so often look back at, I do this a lot more than you do. You kind of like, it's the moment and then it passes and you're on to the next thing. And I really go back to especially those moments where I remember feeling, wow, I mean, how is this thing going to turn out? And then once you see the outcome, I'm like, okay, let me go back to what I thought it was going to be, what I wanted it to be, and what it was. And I really practiced non-attachment. And for the most part, I'm pretty good with that. But I still like to go back and revisit what I kind of want, because I think that's how you build that muscle. And I was speaking to somebody earlier today about over the winter break, we planned our first week of the trip, and I'm a planner, and usually even yes, but even for holidays, we would plan for the kids. Like there's a lot of people involved. And so, but for whatever reason, I kept saying, I just don't feel like we should plan the second part. We'll be in Europe and we'll just figure it out. It's just like, you don't figure out, especially during winter, like everything's booked or whatever, but we did that. And it turned out to be one of our teachers, their son passed very suddenly, unexpectedly. And that second week, we ended up flying to Israel for the funeral. Like whatever we had planned, we would have had to cancel, right? Again, non-attachment. We just wanted to be there fully. But then I remember also, because I was thinking about this today, that they couldn't get to, they were in Morocco, the father was, and the mother was in London, and their son was in LA, and they couldn't get here for 3 days. And those 3 days were really critical in what was happening to him. And I kept thinking and asking the Creator, like, I don't understand why. There must be a reason, because it was like they were at the airport, but the airport was so big they couldn't get to the flight. They missed the flight. Then the other flight was canceled. Then it was delayed. It was just like one thing after another for 3 days. And then I was speaking to somebody who was, because we were dealing with all this from afar, but somebody who was in Los Angeles, and they said, not knowing that I kept questioning, like, why did it take 3 days? And they said, it's really a blessing that they couldn't get here sooner, because it was better they saw him the way they saw him when they finally saw him, right? The state that he was in would have been too heartbreaking for them. And I thought, wow, like we so, like you said, we don't know anything at all. Like in my logical mind, I'm like feeling for his mother, his father, his sister, like why can't, like, it doesn't make sense. And I kept trying to push, like, let's try that flight. Did they look at this? And at the end of it, right, it's like the Creator in such a merciful, beautiful way takes care of everything. And we don't always have, that's why I always go back to it, because it's in those, I always want to see truth. I always want to see if I can, right? But I think that's why it's an important exercise to kind of go back and say, okay, what that thing that I wanted so badly, what was really the blessing of it not happening? Even if something else, let's say good did happen or just unexpected, not like we thought it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's benefit in looking back at life for the purpose of learning for the next time.
100%. Not regret. Not in regret.
We're not just regret, we're also not with necessarily needing to understand everything that happened.
Correct.
Because
No. This is more about me growing appreciation for the creator and how beautiful the process is, the just the beauty of it all. Well, we could talk about this topic much longer. Perhaps we'll revisit it because I think there's more that we wanted to say. But let's leave our listeners with this. The realization that all of life is unknowable can either paralyze somebody or empower them. Once we accept that we'll never have all of the answers, not even a lot of them, perhaps, we unlock the possibility to the experience that life is an exhilarating and profound opportunity. And really what is planned for us is so much bigger and more beautiful than anything we could hope for. I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah, it's interesting. And also you reminded me, especially what we were saying a moment ago, that you go back and try to find what was the beautiful plan. It's important to remember that even when we understand it,
it's still
that's only 1%,
by the way,
of the beautiful plan.
Yeah.
And, Rav Ashlag says something that for anything that's important that happens in life, there's millions of reasons. And we're lucky if we get to understand
100%. I just feel like I get to tap into the genre of it. Not even like I get to, it's a comedy or it's like, but please, nothing. We don't know even a speck of it.
Right. And it's interesting. Our previous 2 episodes were on Tikkun, and we got a lot of feedback, letters. So I want to, first of all, thank all of our listeners for sharing with us so much. And hopefully over the next few episodes, we'll get through some of them. I think some of them are really important. I think will help both inspire and enlighten the rest of our listeners. But there's one of the letters, one of the emails that very much relates to everything we're talking about today. And I'd like to ask you, Monica, to share your thoughts on it. And I do think it's an important email. So thank you so much, Monica and Michael, for your amazing podcast. It's interesting to think about my own tikkun, but I have a question about a dear friend's tikkun. How do I explain the pain and suffering in terms of tikkun of my friend who lost the love of his life to cancer a few years ago? He hasn't been able to find any peace since then.
He has not.
He has not. Is it a cleansing process from a past life? Is there a way to lighten the grief using the concept of tikkun? Thank you so much in advance, Risa. So,
okay, well, I can certainly tell you, I'm not smart enough to tell you why. Again, like you said, we are not going to know all the reasons or any of the reasons, perhaps. But what I can say is this. Interesting enough, whenever I come back to Los Angeles, where I spent a lot of my upbringing, I think about my father. Like I see people that would be the age he'd be at now, that are the age that he would be now. And I look at them like sentimental to me in some way. Like, I'm like, this isn't my father, but it just feels. And I do believe this. Sentimental to me in some way. And I do believe this. I think that when, I've said this often, that the amount that you grieve is tantamount to the amount you loved someone. And how beautiful is that? It's hard because you can't create memories with them anymore. And it's hard because you're still living here and you imagine what life would look like if they were still here with you. But then the other side of it is to look at all of the beauty and like the true gift that he was able to love like that not everybody gets that gift in a lifetime, to love so fiercely and so beautifully, that makes it so hard to go on without that person. And so with the loss of my father and the loss of this person, I think that the way to go through it is try to remember like all of the beautiful things that were created, all of the things that they showed you or taught you or how they loved on you, and just be so grateful and appreciative for having had that experience.
It's interesting. On the flight over here, I watched Mel Brooks' documentary, and one of the elements that really stood out to me was, for our listeners who don't know,
what is it called? The documentary?
I think the 99-year-old man. It's the 99. It's by Judd Apatow, and so Mel Brooks is 99 years old, and he was married, but the love of his life,
Anne Bancroft,
and it's really sweet to see that love story told. And clearly they loved each other. They also made it very clear that they clearly had some extreme fights, apparently because of her Italian background. Again, in his words, and no offense to any of our Italian listeners, she was very strong, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And so they had big fights. And also his son was interviewed and said they had big fights. But clearly they really, really love each other. And then you see him now both watching videos of them together and the way he spoke about her. And one of the things I pointed out, I think his birthday is the same birthday as mine, and his wife and was a Virgo, which it was apropos of Monica and I.
Minus the fighting,
but the feistiness is there. That's good. But what I thought was so it was both beautiful and heartbreaking because now he's alone. But there was a quote there, and this isn't the exact quote, but at the memorial for her, he got up and said, don't come up to me and say, I really feel your pain. He says, because I have so many more tears than you can imagine. And I think that humility, especially if a person loses the love of their life, that's the first thought that I have. I have no idea. I'm not going to put myself in a place to try to explain to somebody who's in that much pain that they lost their love of their life, right? But the only thing that I would say is I have met people who've loved and lost, and through a spiritual life were able either to make less of their grief, meaning diminish the grief that they are experiencing through life, and or actually make it into light. I don't know how they do it. And I hope never to come close to experiencing anything like that. But I do strongly believe that if a person finds their way to a spiritual life, and through that to a connection to the light of the Creator, grief can be diminished, and pain, even into the extreme, can become light. How they do that, I don't know.
There was I don't remember his name, but this man, he wrote a book and he lost his son, and he was so broken. And he came to the realization through a lot of work and effort that his son would be so disappointed to see how he was living his life after he lost his son, all because of the loss. And he said, I've lost my son, but I would have lost my own life as well, even just living here and not doing anything. And he changed his mindset so completely. He wrote a book about it. It was so inspiring to not die along with the person that he loved so much. And actually, he did a lot to advocate. I forgot how his son died, but there was some kind of tragedy, like tragic death. But yeah, to make meaning.
Yeah, I mean, somebody we've met and lost their daughter in a terrible tragedy, and he, through a spiritual process, and again, it's a much longer story than this, really came to, you can't say, getting over their grief, but certainly were able to make great meaning of their grief. And that's all I can say.
Right.
That's all I can say is that I've met people like this, and I strongly believe that the path, the most light-filled path, is a spiritual path that involves the light of the Creator in the process. Right. So this is a great moment to remind our listeners to send all of your questions, comments, stories to Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. As we said, we read your letters, your emails, your messages, and they inspire us and they inspire our listeners. So please keep sending them in. And as always, remember to share this podcast with everybody you know. Go to Apple Podcasts, write 5-star reviews, and we hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it.
Stay spiritually hungry.